I'm your Brewmaster Billy. Today, it's the Safeword Stout, dominating your taste buds. Alright folks, today we're doing what was our Russian Imperial Stout. However, the last time I brewed this beer, I had to do a party bottle on it because I had smaller equipment. What I did at that point was kind of an experiment. I had a ton of leftover hops, and I used all of them, basically. So it came out really good. I thought I was making a black IPA. Turned out I made an India Style Imperial Stout, which is something I've never really heard of before. So we're going to try and do that again tonight, except this time we're going to try and do it on purpose. We've got 7 different hop varieties and 3 different additions going into the boil on this one. It's going to be a monster. We're heating the water. We're going to be mashing in here in just a few minutes. And once I get all the water mashed in, we'll come back and talk about it more. Alright folks, we stir it in. We've got all the mash done. Well, all the mash started really. And we're sitting right at 158 degrees. Giving this thing a really healthy stir because there's 31 pounds of grain in here. It's a lot of grain. We're gonna start heating up the sparge water next. Get that added to the mash. Basically do it the same way we did it last time. And we'll be back then. See you soon. Hey folks, while we're waiting on the mash, it's always time to have a beer. That's why I love this job. Alright folks, we're all mashed in. The sparge water is in the tun. Our temperature is sitting pretty. Actually, it's a little bit high, so we'll likely leave the top off the tun for a little while. I love the steam in the air from the mash tun process. We're also about halfway through the mash, so we've got about 30 more, maybe 60 more minutes, depending upon testing, because I'm looking for a very specific color and gravity. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Got some really good color developing. This will be one of the last times we stir this water. Probably one more time before we let it rest and start developing a bed. I love the consistency of this stout. It's always very thick. It's from the oatmeal and the rice hulls. They're just expanding 2-3 times their size. It's lovely. The beer is lovely. And it smells like heaven and peated smoke in this room. Hey folks, we're at the mid-mash test. This is where we start to figure out what our gravity is going to look like. We have a target gravity today of 1.116. We're going to try and get there, but that's why we call this a test kitchen. So far as you can see, the color is actually starting to darken. We're getting that nice dark brown, black color that we're looking for. And now we're going to find out what our actual gravity is right now. So again, trusty old refractometer, my sterilized pipette, and I know I haven't boiled yet, but when in doubt, sterilize. I cannot stress that enough. Sterilize everything, every time, all the time. So we're going to go ahead and lay that test sample down. There's a good look. And there we are at 1.073. So considering the fact that we haven't boiled, we haven't added our molasses, and we haven't added any other of our special ingredients, I'm on track to meet my my gravity point, if not my color point. We'll see how it all goes when we get ready to boil. Up next, the Vorloff. Alright folks, we're down ready to pull out our first lauter. So what we're going to have to do is do our Vorloff. This is where we recycle the wort until it gets to a point where it sucks the grain bed down into a kind of a filter and keeps the wort as sediment free as possible. We're not necessarily looking for clear wort this time. It is a stout after all. We just want it as free of sediment as possible. So again, just the same way we've done before. We're just going to run this. Hot liquor into a pitcher. We're going to drain it over top of our. Our paddle, and do that several times until we have the grain bed established. Then we're going to pull the first 10 gallons of this wort and start our first boil. Okay, folks, never let it be said that brewing is not without its mishaps. Tonight what we're experiencing is a classic stuck sparge. Basically what's happened is that I did not use enough rice hulls versus oat flakes in this particular mash. So what we're having is a problem filtering out the wort. It's getting stuck, it's not flowing, and now we're having to manually just remove the wort because we don't have pumps. That's what's going on now. It's going to take us a little bit of extra time, but we're still going to come out with the beer we almost want. Talk to you soon. Hey folks, we're back. Got the boil process just getting started. What we're going to do at this point is we've got all of our tools in the kettles. We got the kettles under fire. I'm using 2 kettles, so I have to have one kettle running at a little bit higher temperature than the other kettle so that the first boil happens and then the second boil happens. That way I can manage the heat break without having a bunch of boil over problems. That being said, we're talking about problems. Let's talk about stuck sparges, rice hulls and oats. That's what happened to me tonight. I had roughly 10 pounds of oats in this and only 1 pound of rice hulls. Apparently, that's not enough rice hulls. So next time we do this, we're going to be adjusting a couple of different things on the grain bill itself. Simply because, A, I don't think I got the color I wanted out of the volume that I'm collecting, and B, I didn't have enough rice hulls to keep me from having to deal with the stuck sparge that was just monstrous. Anyway, next up, hop additions. This is our India Style Stout, so that means it's going to be very hop forward. Looking up more, we see that we have 7 different types of hops listed in 3 different editions. We're going to be using the Calypso, we're going to be using the Centennial, we're going to be using the Cascade, the Mount Hood, the Gargoyle, the Fuggles, and the Hallertau hops in different forms. All of them in a stout. Why? Because I damn well can, and it seems like a really good idea. We'll see how it turns out when we come back. So we're just hitting the heat break. I've already had a little bit of a boil over, so we're going to let that calm down. Remember folks, watch pot never boils, and an ignored pot always boils over. So, there's still plenty of heat in the liquor. We're just going to relight the fire, but we're going to keep it very low, and we're going to bring that boil back to a small roll. Well, actually a medium roll. It looks like I'm going to have to deal with the second break, so I'm going to turn this up a little bit so that I can have room to turn it down. And again, you have to keep a very close eye on this. This is not something that you want to play around with. Hey folks, we're at the boil. We got it started, managed the heat break, managed the boil over, and now we're ready to start our hop additions. This is the first of 3. 3 ounces of hops right there. It's going to be pretty amazing. And again, we always want to make sure that we control how we initially start adding our hops. They do have their own form of heat break, and they can foam over and give you an extra boil over. So you want to make sure that you hold them submerged in the sock until they're done. Now this is different for larger boils. If I was doing a 3, 5, 7 barrel boil, I'd be adding loose hops and letting the false bottom catch the mat. At this point, I don't have that yet, so we use the hop socks, and then we have to worry about the breaks. Now we're going to go ahead and start the timers. The next hop addition is going to be at 45 minutes, so we'll be back in 15 minutes. So now we're putting in the second hop addition. This bag contains 3 different kinds of hops. I've already told you what they were. You'll have to go back and rewatch the video if you need a refresher. Otherwise, it's on the big board. Once again, Drop, vary, and that's how we avoid a hop break. Here we go, folks, the third and final hop edition. This one is Hallertau and Fuggle hops, and we're going to do it the same way we've always done it. Drop, dunk, and roll. Except nobody's on fire. Anyway, that's it, folks. We've done almost a half pound of hops involved in this now. We're also going to be doing a lauder run, a second running of this particular mash. I know we have stuck sparge the first time. I'm really hoping we have a better run on the second. Either way, what we're going to do is end up lautering inside of the 24-gallon lauder tun, and then we'll be putting it into our primary fermenters, which are 8 gallons each. I'm hoping to pull between 8 and 13 gallons. We'll see how it goes. So, we've been talking about sanitation. The boil is almost over. We're going to go ahead and sanitize the lauder tun. And that's kind of what I've been talking about. Right now, we have a couple of gallons of water and an ounce of star sand in there. That's about twice as much as they recommend, and I'm okay with that, honestly. I would rather be over-sanitized than under. This star sand I love, simply because it's no rinse. I'm going to go dump this out when I'm ready to start lautering the beer, and it's all going to be sanitary. It's going to stay sanitary until I'm done with my second boil, which is going to be some 2.5 hours from now. So here we go. We're just going to reach in here, grab our sanitary towel because it's been sanitized by the sanitizer. See how simple that shit is. And we're going to spend a couple minutes running sanitizer up and down the walls of the lauder tun, getting it all covered. And that's how we get that done. Once it's sanitized, we'll be ready to get it in, ready to put the wort in. We'll start the lauder, the second mash, and the second boil. We'll see you there. Alright folks, so here we are chilling off the wort. Once again, I don't have pumps and stuff yet, so I'm doing what some brewers call milking the cow. I'm running an immersion chiller where cold water is being introduced and exited through a coil that I'm leaving in my beer until it gets down to room temperature. This is where we're going to add it to the lauder tun. I'm just about ready at this point to switch over from this one to the other kettle. If you'll notice, the other kettle is still covered. We're doing that just to keep everything kind of sanitary as much as we can. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for a minute because I'm going to need my cameraman's help in order to do this, and we'll see you in just a minute. Here's segue number 2. You know, this is my favorite part of the brewing process. This is the point where I've got a tiny little buzz. I'm just about at the point where basically physics is going to take care of itself. We're going to have this done in a minute, but before then, that state of submission IIRA. It's brilliant. Love it. I can't wait to brew it again. Alright, so we're at the second mash. This is kind of the second runnings before we're going to do our lauder, find out where our actual final gravity is. Right now, we're just trying to figure out what's left in the sugars on the original grains. So here we go with that. The color is pretty light, so I'm not expecting a very high gravity at this point. We will change that when we get ready to boil. Yeah, it's 1.020, so it's not very heavy. This particular lauder is not intended to add much in the way of chewiness or maltiness as far as as far as the work goes. What it's going to add basically is volume and body. We're adding molasses and a couple of other things that we're not going to talk about, as well as our same hop additions that we had in our first runnings. We're going to then water those together and see what we end up with. The whole thing's kind of an experiment, and I think it's going to be fun. We'll see you soon. All right, we've got everything watered in. I don't have the color I wanted tonight. I have milky brown instead of dark black. I'm going to have to do a couple of adjustments on both my grain bill and my process. Still, we ended up with a really good wort tonight. Let's find out exactly how good we ended up with. Provided I can draw a sample. There we go. All right. Oh, my brew baby. Well, that is not what I was hoping for. It has been an all-around educational brew night tonight. I have a final original gravity of 1.055. It's going to result in the beer that it results in. It's going to be a good beer, but I still need to do more work on this recipe in order to make it a true oak-based Russian Imperial Stout or an India Style Stout, which is what we were aiming for tonight. Next time, we'll do it again. We'll make some adjustments. See you then. All right, folks, we got everything done, except for the pitching of the yeast. I'm going to do that basically kind of in secret because it's my process and it's basic, and you guys aren't really interested in it anyway. Here we ended up with 12 and a half, nearly 13 gallons of wort. This was the first time that I ended up with an actual half barrel of beer. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not happy with the recipe itself, so we'll be making some adjustments. We'll be making some adjustments to the process. We'll be making some adjustments to the grain bill. We'll see how this actually turns out. It's going to be drinkable. It's going to be delicious. It's just not the Safeword Stout quite yet. We're still working on it, and that's why we call this the test kitchen. From BDSM Brewing, we're brewing the beating your mouth desserts. We'll see you on another brew day. One of the best things I'm enjoying about this process is my ability to kind of make mistakes. And further, I kind of appreciate my folks over at my supply house, over at Main Brew Brewing Supply, that helps me make my mistakes. Sure, they don't tell me when I ground my oats and I shouldn't have, or I used a pound, maybe a pound and a half less of both specialty malts and rice hulls in order to use the full grain bed. But still, they let me learn. And that learning is more important to me than anything else. Shout out to John and everybody else at the Main Brew Supply House. I love you. You keep not telling me what to do. I appreciate the fuck out of that.